It's time for some predictions. This is now the third consecutive year that I've done this, trying to predict the leading scorer for all 32 NHL teams heading into the upcoming season. Saying 32 is definitely going to take some getting used to. This is actually the first one from every team video I have done where Seattle's going to be involved, so I gotta get used to that. Now, normally when I do these one from every team videos, we just go in alphabetical order from Anaheim to Winnipeg, or sometimes reverse alphabetical order from Winnipeg to Anaheim, but this video I'm going to change things up. We're just going to go division by division. Starting things off out west in the Pacific Division with the Calgary Flames. This is a bit of a boring answer, but I'm going with Johnny Hockey. He's led the Flames in scoring in 5 of the past 6 seasons. He's going to have that extra added motivation heading into this year, with it being a contract year. He's set to become a UFA in the offseason of 2022, so he's my pick to lead the Flames in scoring. And in terms of how many points I think he's going to get, I'm going to say between 80 and 85. I think he's going to be right up there around a point per game. The NHL's newest team, the 32nd franchise, the Seattle Kraken. If you watched my video on the Kraken last week where I gave you guys my expectations for them in their inaugural season, you would know my choice here. But if you weren't able to catch that video, my pick to lead Seattle in scoring is Jaden Schwartz. I really went back and forth between him, Yanni Gourde, and Jordan Eberle. I feel like any of those 3 players would be really good picks here. I decided to go with Jaden Schwartz just because he's really consistent. You usually know what you're going to get from him. He's had 5 seasons in his career with 50 plus points. He had 1 season where he was close to point a game. So I have Schwartz leading Seattle in scoring in their first season, and for my point projection, I got him scoring between 55 and 60 points. The Edmonton Oilers, big surprise here. Connor McDavid is going to lead that team in scoring if he stays healthy. He's probably going to win the Art Ross and lead the entire league in scoring. My point projection for McDavid is somewhere between 125 and 130, but seeing as what he did last season, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he surpasses that. The Vegas Golden Knights, I'm going with Mark Stone. I feel like it's almost certainly going to be either him or Max Pacioretty. Stone is just a beast of a player. He's so good defensively, and it seems like every single season he just keeps getting better and better offensively as well. The Golden Knights just dominate when he's on the ice. It's as simple as that, so I have him leading the team in scoring this upcoming season, scoring somewhere between 85 to 90 points. The Anaheim Ducks, this is a pretty interesting one. I don't really feel like there's an obvious choice here. Max Comtois kind of came out of nowhere and led the team in points last season. My pick for this year, though, is going to be the rookie Trevor Zegras. He's already, in my opinion, the most offensively gifted player on that entire roster. He got into 23 games with the Ducks this past season, scored over a half point per game pace. He's definitely going to be a full-time NHLer in 2020-21. I fully expect him to just keep getting better and better, so I have him leading the Ducks in scoring with somewhere between 55 and 60 points. The LA Kings, I kind of struggled with this one. I wanted to go off the board a little bit, but in the end, I decided to go with the easiest pick here and say it's going to be Anze Kopitar. He's led the team in scoring in each of the past 4 seasons. Yeah, he's getting up there in age, but he's still a very dominant two-way force. And with the additions the Kings made this offseason, bringing in the likes of Victor Arvidsson and Philip Deneau, I think there's going to be a little bit more support around Kopitar than in the past couple of seasons. I'm pretty excited to see what this team does. The Vancouver Canucks, I'm going to go with Elias Pettersson. It's kind of surprising that he actually hasn't led the team in scoring in either of the past 2 seasons, but obviously last year he was injured the majority of the time, and in 2019-20, JT Miller just exploded offensively. But if healthy this season, I fully expect Pettersson to lead the Canucks in scoring. I think he has the potential to be a Hart Trophy candidate, be one of the best players in the league. A little bit concerning that he's still without a contract at this point now that training camps are opening up, so hopefully something gets done there soon, because if he misses some games to start the season, then maybe this won't be the best pick. And now for the final team of the Pacific Division, the San Jose Sharks. I really struggled with this one. I went back and forth. I feel like there's a lot of good options here. Evander Kane led the team in scoring last year. I don't see that happening again. We don't even know if he's going to be playing. Almost went with Thomas Hertl, but decided not to, just because he's going into the final year of his contract, and with the San Jose Sharks not being a very good team, I feel like there's a good chance we could see him traded around the deadline. Anyways, I decided to go with the captain, Logan Couture. I'm not extremely confident in this pick. I think he's going to score somewhere between 60 and 65 points, but I wouldn't be surprised if a guy like Kevin LeBanc or Timo Meier even led the team in scoring. So those are my Pacific Division picks. Quick little recap from the Oilers: McDavid, Vegas Golden Knights, Mark Stone; Sharks, Logan Couture; and then Pettersson from the Canucks, Trevor Zegras for the Ducks, Jaden Schwartz for the Kraken, Johnny Gaudreau for the Flames, and Anze Kopitar for the Kings. Moving along now to the Central Division, starting off with the Arizona Coyotes. I actually kind of forgot they were in the Central now, but with Seattle coming into the league, they are. My choice for the Coyotes is Clayton Keller. Came into the league a couple of years ago, had a really strong rookie season, and I know things haven't really gone the greatest since then, but I do think he's a really good player, especially offensively. I think he brings a lot to the table. My point projection for Clayton Keller this upcoming season is pretty low. I have it between 50 to 55, but that's just because I don't think Arizona as a team is really going to generate a whole lot of offense this upcoming season. The Chicago Blackhawks wanted to go off the board a little bit, maybe go with a guy like Kirby Dach, Kubalik, DeBrincat even, but I mean, if he's healthy, I think it's going to be Patrick Kane. He's still one of the very best offensive players in the league. His offensive production has shown zero signs of slowing down. He was 10 points over point per game this past season. I imagine it's going to be more of the same this upcoming season. I have him between 90 to 95 points. Next up, we have the Dallas Stars, and my choice for them is Roope Hintz. He did not lead the team in scoring last year. That was Joe Pavelski, but if he had stayed healthy for the entire season, he definitely would have led the team in scoring. He was over a point per game with 43 points in 41 games. To me, Roope Hintz is one of the most underrated players in the league on one of the best contracts in the entire league. He doesn't get talked about a lot for a guy who was a legitimate star this past season. The Minnesota Wild, I'm sorry, another kind of boring answer here, but I mean, it's going to be Kirill Kaprizov. We saw what he was all about this past season. He is an unbelievable play-driving offensive force. He lived up to everybody's expectations. He probably even exceeded some people's expectations. He's the real deal. He's going to lead the Wild in scoring if he stays healthy. I have him between 85 and 90 points, and honestly wouldn't be surprised if he gets closer to 95. The Blues, I feel like this was one of my most bold predictions of the entire video. I have Robert Thomas leading them in scoring this upcoming season with 65 to 70 points. I'm a huge fan of Robert Thomas's game. I still can't get over the fact St. Louis was able to re-sign him for just $2.8 million per season for the next 2 years. I can't believe nobody offer sheeted him. Although it is a little bit of a long shot, I do believe he can lead the team in scoring because St. Louis is one of those teams where they don't really have one superstar who, you know, pushes 90 to 100 points a season. They just have a lot of guys that are really consistent and are good at producing points. They kind of do it as a collective unit. Moving on now to the Winnipeg Jets. I guess this pick is actually a little bit bold as well. I have Nikolai Ehlers leading them in scoring, and I have him between 85 to 90 points. I know a lot of people's pick for the Winnipeg Jets will probably be one of Kyle Connor or Mark Scheifele, but I really believe Nikolai Ehlers is one of those players that's just ready to break out and have an explosive offensive season. He has the tools. He's one of the quickest players in the league. He's an extremely good play driver. He's a threat to pass and shoot in most cases, and he's coming off of arguably the best season of his career. He put up a career high in points per game. The thing is, he only played, I think, 46 or 47 games last year. The Colorado Avalanche didn't really have to think too long and hard about this one. I think it's going to be Nathan MacKinnon. He's a top 5 player in the league. He'll probably finish top 3 in NHL scoring. I have him between 110 and 115 points. Moving on now to the final team of the Central Division, the Nashville Predators. I'm actually going to go with a defenseman here and pick their captain Roman Josi to lead the team in points. When making my list for this video, the first name that came to my mind when I got to Nashville was definitely Philip Forsberg, but the more I thought about it, he's heading into the final year of his contract. He's on a Nashville team that most likely isn't going to be very good. He has a very reasonable cap hit. I think he's going to be a prime candidate to be moved at the deadline, so I don't think he even finishes the season in Nashville. That's why I decided to go with Josi. So to recap my picks for the Central Division, I have Patrick Kane leading the Hawks in scoring, Nikolai Ehlers for the Jets, Roman Josi for the Predators, Clayton Keller for the Coyotes, Nathan MacKinnon for the Avalanche, Kirill Kaprizov for the Wild, Roope Hintz for the Stars, and Robert Thomas for the St. Louis Blues. Moving on over now to the Eastern Conference, starting in the Atlantic with the defending Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. Last year I went with Braden Point. I actually got that right. This year I'm changing it up and going with Nikita Kucherov. He's coming into the season 100% healthy. We saw what he just did in the Stanley Cup playoffs, had 30 plus points, was a ridiculous run for him. Nikita Kucherov just scores points. That's what he does. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him have another ridiculous season where he scores, north of 120 or something like that. So I'm definitely going with him this year. The Buffalo Sabres, this was a tough one because of the whole Jack Eichel factor. We don't know if he's going to start the season with Buffalo, if he's going to be traded before then. We don't know if he's even going to be playing if he stays in Buffalo, right? So I'm actually not going to risk it and go with Eichel. I'm going to go with somebody we know is going to be playing there this season, and that is Rasmus Dahlin, who actually just signed a contract extension today, 3 years, 18 mil, so congrats to him. Former first overall pick, obviously coming off of a pretty tough season, but he's still an amazing offensive defenseman, a fantastic puck mover. Buffalo's probably going to suck. They're probably not going to score a lot of goals, goals, but I think Rasmus Dahlin is talented enough as to where he's gonna put up his numbers no matter what. The Detroit Red Wings, I'm gonna go with the captain, Dylan Larkin. He's gonna have a lot more help this year than he has in the past 2 seasons. I definitely think Jacob Vrana is gonna lead the team in goals, but for total points, I am gonna go with Dylan Larkin. The past couple of seasons, points-wise, have not really been the greatest for Dylan Larkin, but this year, with a little bit more help, a little bit more scoring depth behind him, I'm expecting him to get back to being that 70-point guy that he was in 2018-19. The Ottawa Senators, some people may view this as a little bit of an off-the-board pick, but I really don't. I'm going with Josh Norris, who is a standout rookie from this past season, finished actually only 1 point behind Brady Tkachuk for the team lead in points as a rookie. Ottawa has a special player in Josh Norris. I think he has all the tools in the world to be a star #1 centerman on the Ottawa Senators. My projection for him this upcoming season is he has, maybe a 30-30 type season, 30 goals, 30 assists, 60, 65 points, something like that. The Montreal Canadiens, they got like 5 different guys who I could honestly see leading the team in scoring. Tyler Toffoli, maybe Josh Anderson, Jonathan Drouin, Brendan Gallagher, you get the point. My choice though is one that I feel like a lot of you guys will agree with, and that is Nick Suzuki. Although he's still very early in his career, I think you can make the case that he's the best forward on this team. I fully expect him to take another big leap this upcoming season, and on top of him just being extremely skilled, I feel like he's probably going to get the most ice time out of Montreal forwards as well, so that'll definitely help his case to lead the team in points. The Toronto Maple Leafs, to me this came down to 2 players, Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, and I actually decided to go with Mitch Marner. I know Matthews is definitely going to lead the team in goals. He's probably going to lead the entire league in goals, but in terms of total points, I feel like it is going to be Mitch Marner because the dude just gets so many assists every season. And in terms of my point projection for Mitch Marner, I feel like there's a good chance we see him have the first 100-point season of his career. The Boston Bruins, I'm going with Brad Marchand. You could definitely go with David Pastrnak here, but I feel like it's a similar situation to Matthews and Marner, where Pastrnak is definitely going to maybe outscore Brad Marchand when it comes to goals, but I feel like Marchand will outscore him when it comes to total points. Brad Marchand just doesn't make sense. He continues to get older. He's 33 heading into this upcoming season, but he just gets better with age. Usually it's the opposite, but not with Brad Marchand apparently. Next up, the final team of the Atlantic Division, the Florida Panthers. I'm going with Jonathan Huberdeau. He's led the team in scoring in each of the past 2 seasons. I think I predicted him to lead the team in scoring last year and I got that right, so I'm just going to stick with Huberdeau. Now there's definitely a high chance it could be Barkov instead of Huberdeau, especially since Barkov is in a contract year. I'm sure he wants to light it up and make as much money as possible, but in reality you really can't go wrong with either of these guys. I think they're most likely going to be neck and neck in terms of points this season. So to recap my Atlantic Division picks: from the Tampa Bay Lightning, Nikita Kucherov; from the Bruins we got Brad Marchand, Mitch Marner for the Leafs, Josh Norris for the Senators, Jonathan Huberdeau for the Florida Panthers, Rasmus Dahlin for the Buffalo Sabres, Dylan Larkin for the Red Wings, and Nick Suzuki for the Canadiens. And now moving on to the final division of the video, the Metro, starting off with the Blue Jackets, and my choice to lead them in scoring is Patrik Laine. I just feel like he's the most talented, most gifted offensive player on that team. Now I know he just had a miserable season, but to me that's just not going to happen again. Patrik Laine is too good for that, and obviously he's not going to be playing under John Tortorella anymore. The Blue Jackets have a new coach, so he's my pick to lead the Blue Jackets in scoring. I have him finishing with between 65 and 70 points. The New York Rangers, like picking McDavid for the Oilers, like picking McKinnon for the Avalanche, this one doesn't require a lot of thinking. Artemi Panarin, if healthy, is going to lead the Rangers in scoring. He's one of the most dominant offensive players in the league. My point projection for him is between 100 and 105. I imagine he's probably going to be one of the top 5 scorers in the entire league. Moving on now to the other New York team, the New York Islanders, I'm going with Matt Barzal. I've picked him, I think, in each of the past 2 iterations of this video. To me, Matt Barzal is a player who's probably going to lead the New York Islanders in scoring for like the next decade. He's their franchise guy right now. They have a lot of other players who are capable of putting up a lot of points, being in that 50-60 point range, guys like Anders Lee, Josh Bailey, Brock Nelson, Peugeot, those guys, but I really can't see any of them outscoring Matt Barzal. Again, of course, that is if he stays healthy for the entire season. The Washington Capitals, my bias is taken over a little bit here. I'm going with Anthony Mantha. I wanted to go off the board here a little bit. I think he's capable of scoring between 75 and 80 points. I've always said that I think Mantha can be a point-a-game player who scores 30 to 35 goals in a season. When Mantha is locked in, he's extremely dominant every time he's on the ice, and I feel like Washington fans can probably already attest to that, even though they haven't seen him play all that much. It was a pretty small sample size. The thing is, when it comes to Mantha, it's just a matter of getting him to be locked in every single game. The Pittsburgh Penguins, one of my bold predictions for this season was Crosby finishes under a point per game for the first time in his career, so I'm not even going to take Crosby here, and also him and Malkin are going to be out to start the season, so that factors in here as well. My pick to lead the Penguins in scoring this upcoming season is actually Firstly, Jake Gensel, I think he's an extremely underrated player. He's been over a point per game in each of the past 2 seasons, and I don't envision that changing this upcoming season. I have Gensel scoring between 80 to 85 points. Now, would that be enough to outscore Malkin and Crosby? Who knows? I think there's a good chance it would be, especially when you consider, again, Malkin and Crosby are going to be out to start the season. The Philadelphia Flyers, another one of those teams where there's a lot of players that could lead the team in scoring. Now they got Cam Atkinson, obviously Claude Giroux, Travis Konechny. I think JVR actually led them in scoring this past season. My pick for this season, though, is Sean Couturier. I think in terms of complete game, he's the best forward on the Philadelphia Flyers. He's most likely going to log the most minutes out of Philadelphia Flyer forwards as well. And although Couturier is more so known for his defensive game, he's very capable of being a guy who flirts with being a point per game. He had back-to-back 76-point seasons in 2017-18 and 2018-19. The New Jersey Devils, I'm definitely going to go with Jack Hughes, their first overall pick from the 2019 NHL draft. He took a big leap in his sophomore season from what we saw him do as a rookie. I expect him to take another big leap in his third season. I could definitely see Nico Hischier leading the team in points as well. To me, it definitely is going to be one of those two. And now for the final team of the Metro Division, the final team of the entire video, I wanted to go off the board here with the Carolina Hurricanes, but I think choosing anyone else other than Sebastian Aho would just be reaching a little bit too much, so I'm going with Sebastian Aho. He's led the team in points now for 4 consecutive seasons. He's had multiple seasons where he was over a point per game. He's their best player. He's most likely going to lead the team in points, so that's who I'm taking for Carolina. So to finish off the video, recapping my predictions for the Metro Division, Carolina, I have Sebastian Aho. The New York Islanders, Matt Barzal. The Washington Capitals, I went with Anthony Mantha. The Philadelphia Flyers, Sean Couturier. The New Jersey Devils, Jack Hughes. Rangers, Artemi Panarin. Blue Jackets, Patrick Laine. And Pittsburgh Penguins, Jake Gensel. So that is going to do it for today's video, predicting the leading scorer for all 32 NHL teams in the 2021-22 season. When it comes to prediction videos like this, obviously my list is completely subjective. These are just my opinions, and nobody can be wrong until the season is actually over, till the season has been played. I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts though. I want to see your predictions left down below in the comment section. Obviously, you don't have to leave your prediction for every single team if you don't want to, but if you do, feel free. The NHL season is so close. I hope you guys are all as excited as I am. We literally have preseason games like next week. I'm pumped.